Howdy from Bozeman. This video is an extended version of a series of movements aimed at aiding in recovery and increasing mobility. Doing all or some of these movements will take 5 to 10 minutes a day and will have a large positive impact on your daily life and training. I am Scott Lacey, an athlete with the elite biathlon team from the Crosscut Mountain Sports Center here in Bozeman. This is the routine I choose all or some of each morning and afternoon, where I can find a large open floor space and begin by inhaling my shoulders up and back and exhaling them down. This is scapula and neck mobility, in particular, setting your shoulders back and standing tall. After about 5 breaths, lifts, and sets, I begin lifting up my heels as well, starting with my feet and breathing, developing a good sound posture. After 10 breaths, I then focus on my feet. The feet are the foundation of our entire body. I rock forward and back, lifting my heels and then lifting my toes, finding asymmetries, making sure my toes have the flexibility, my ankles aren't stiff. I then begin rotating so that I am always to the left with the outside and inside of the feet to my heels, all weight to the right with the outside and inside of my heels, then to my toes. I do about 3 circles each direction, focusing on rotating all of the joints in the feet. I then move to my knees, swinging them as if I was alpine skiing, deep powder one way and then deep powder the other way. Making sure I've isolated my ankles first, then my knees, and then moving up to my hips. This allows me to really realize if I have a tightness in some part of my body, but also focus on just those joints. Everything stems from the ground up into your body, and finding an asymmetry or a tightness allows you to then work on that later. After doing my hips, I move back to resetting my shoulders to good posture and inhale my arms up. Exhale down, inhale up, and set my shoulders down with my arms still raised. Inhaling again up and exhaling shoulders down, arms still raised. At this point, I reach to the side on the exhale. Really inhaling to open up the lung that is stretched, feeling it through my entire lateral body. This can also be done sitting if it's easier than standing. Same things, inhaling up, exhaling over, inhaling, opening the side body, releasing by the inhale, and exhaling back to the other side. Inhaling and stretching, exhaling, releasing. Inhaling tall and now going backwards with each exhale, allowing your back to feel flexion in each of the 4 directions. A few of those exhales back, and then a big inhale up, and an exhale all the way down with your arms. Inhale and exhale into a forward fold. Inhale to a flat back, bend the knees, and exhale into a deeper forward fold, maintaining a flat back as long as possible. Inhaling to a flat back and exhaling into a deeper fold. This can also be done sitting if this is easier position, simply bending over and using gravity to hang, or bending your knees and grabbing your feet in order to pull all of the muscles along the entire backside of your body, releasing with each exhale, trying to straighten your back with each inhale. Straightening your back while sitting can be done by lifting your shoulders and placing your hands behind you and prouding your chest. After a few deep inhale and exhale cycles, you can simply hang and let your body breathe naturally. You can then begin to move and swing, finding if one side of your body is tighter than the other. You can straighten your legs. You can go into a deep squat. You can find a position that feels comfortable to stretch for you, breathing at your own rate. Bringing focus back to the routine, Do one more inhale to a flat back and exhale and see if you can go deeper than you did the first time. Maybe your hands can lie flat. Maybe you need to have just your fingertips touching. Maybe your knees are still bent. Find a position that's comfortable with your legs to be wider and bend your knees and now plant your hands in order to walk forward. This is known as the downward dog position and is a great way to begin stretching actively instead of passively. Our shoulders are bearing some weight, and I begin to rotate my arms, tucking them in, seeing if I can tuck my scapulas tight, inhaling and lifting up my body, pedaling out my legs, isolating one side or the other, beginning to lower my knees, curling my toes, actively using my legs, beginning to squat while leaning forward, warming up those hamstrings. You can even go into a high lunge. You can tuck knees towards your elbows. See if one side of your body is tighter than the other. Returning to a full arch, tucking those shoulder blades tight, bringing your elbows under, and now dropping to your knees. You can take a moment to adjust your positioning, forming a nice square tabletop, and then inhaling through your shoulders, rotating each shoulder, exhaling down, really warming up your scapulas, finding mobility in your upper body, in your upper spine, in your neck. Switch directions if you can. Begin simply inhaling up and exhaling down. You can increase the rate, really warming up the muscles that hold your posture strong and your neck tall. And maybe begin working your way into a child's pose or just flexing back, stretching the bottom of your feet. You can even begin bringing your weight back onto your feet while your toes are tucked. This can be very painful. A way to reduce this is to sit on something taller so you're not fully sitting on your heels, but really opening up all of the tendons on the bottoms of your feet, going forward, releasing your toes and sitting back and stretching the front of your feet all the way up into your shins. This may be equally painful as sitting on your toes, so give yourself time to paddle them out or relax or sitting on a block. Returning to a tabletop, returning to downward dog and checking in to see if you've gained flexibility from the beginning of the day or the beginning of this routine. You can then lunge forward. This can simply stretch your glute, but you can turn it into a spinal twist. You can then drop your knee and stretch your psoas and your hip flexors in the front. You can stretch your calves. You can open up your front body, isolating one side, returning to neutral, and making sure to do this evenly on both sides. Even if you are tighter on one side than the other, always do this equally and work towards having equal flexibility on each side. One final return to downward dog, releasing your toes, pulling your hands forward as you sit back, stretching out the sides of your ribs, catching your breath, breathing naturally, and moving into a forward opening position. This can be a lot, so feel free to drop down to your elbows and taking it easier on your spine. In some cases, doing a few seconds up and then a few seconds down, just counting to 5 in between, getting back up, allows for the spine to warm up and all of the fluid in between each vertebrae and those gel pockets to ease into the day. Most of our day is spent curled forward. If you're training, everything is crunching forward. Finding time to open that up. And finally, moving back into a squat. If you need a block to sit on, that can aid if your knees aren't flexible. Inhaling and compressing your knees and arms and chest, closing. Exhaling and opening everything up. Repeating for a few breaths and really warming up those hip sockets. Finally, moving on to your back, you can appreciate the gains in mobility, the opening of blood flow, and just relaxing. You can see if your spine can lie flat against the ground by holding your hand on your belly and seeing if movement, either rotating side to side or simply just staying and breathing or lifting your arms up, has been increased or is still tight, or just staying in one position and letting gravity hold in your body, really checking in to see if that spine can lay against the ground. Maybe you're equal, maybe you have one side more flexible than the other. But ultimately you took 5 or 10 minutes today at any point during the day to help your body out in everything that you may do. I hope you enjoyed this video adding to the series on stability, mobility, injury prevention, and recovery. I hope to see you out on the trails. Thanks for watching.